including our Port of Seattle Commissioner Sam Cho, our Managing Director at SEA Airport, Lance Little, the CEO of BEST, Mark Brettman, PhD, and we have also joining us is one of our human traffic survivors to give us some information as well too, Lilitha Williams. I'll just note for our speakers as well too as we get started. So just before you all get started, if you would, for the media that's joining us, just before your comments, please say your name and spell it out for folks, as well as your title, so that they've got that to go along with their information. And then we'll move along from that. Also, quick reminder for folks as well too, this is being recorded. So by accepting this information or participating in this call, you are providing consent to being recorded and potentially having the recorded forwarded to other parties. So everybody's caught up on that. We're caught up on the information. And Lilitha, have you joined us? Okay, looks like she's still signing on, so we'll get a quick minute or so to join us. Lilitha, I see you joined us. Just double checking to make sure your audio sounds good and you're hearing us all right. Hi, Lilitha, joining us, making sure we're checking audio, making sure everybody's all there.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Excellent. Great. So just reminders again, we're just about to get going here. Quick reminders for folks. Again, thanks for joining us. For our speakers, Lilitha, just reminding for everybody, if you're not speaking at the moment, feel free to go ahead and mute yourself. And then as you speak, unmute yourself just before that. And then we'll have some questions and answers afterwards as well too, and we can go on and off for that and point people to the various folks that would be most appropriate to answer their questions. And then otherwise, I'll turn my camera off as well too, and we'll let the speakers have the camera and the appropriate person that's speaking to start off with us and get going. And again, reminder, this is being recorded. And otherwise, I think we're about ready to get going, unless any of our speakers have any questions. I think we're all set. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started and start with Port of Seattle Commissioner Sam Cho. Commissioner?
Great. Sam Cho, S-A-M-C-H-O, Commissioner at the Port of Seattle. Let me just start off this morning by thanking you for joining us. We're here today because January is Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And today we will be sharing updates on our regional campaign to stop labor and sex trafficking, as well as highlight how a global pandemic like COVID-19 exacerbates the potential for human trafficking. In January of 2019, we began a public awareness campaign with the Port of Seattle, King County, the City of Seattle, Sound Transit, and the airlines to encourage victims and survivors to call the National Human Trafficking Hotline for help. In fact, Washington State rose from the 8th highest call volume in 2019 up from the 13th spot from the year prior. So counter to intuition, a rise in call volume is actually a positive outcome, since when it comes to human trafficking, we don't know what we don't know. So a surge indicates that more people are reaching out for help and for resources like medical care, financial assistance, and housing. To that end, awareness is everything in stopping and preventing trafficking. And to achieve these results, we installed signs at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport in several different languages. We installed them at our port parks, at Fisherman's Terminal. We implemented a new human trafficking awareness training that 2,013 Port of Seattle employees completed in the year 2020, which actually accounts for approximately 81% of the Port of Seattle's workforce. This training was developed in partner with Businesses Ending Slavery and Trafficking, called BEST. So I want to really send out a big thank you to Mar, from whom you will be hearing from later. The Port of Seattle's training is the first proprietary anti-human trafficking training module developed by a port authority in the United States. And it ensures that our staff have the knowledge and the resources to recognize and respond to instances of human trafficking. Moreover, I think in a time of global pandemic like COVID-19, economic hardship can be a major factor in being exploited for labor. The Port of Seattle is already advancing programs to lead an equitable economic recovery. And to that end, the port has recently awarded BEST with nearly $100,000 in grant funding to serve human trafficking survivors and at-risk youths living in areas of South King County like Burien, Des Moines, Federal Way, Normandy Park, SeaTac, and Tukwila. I believe this will contribute to the overall economic recovery in the South King County region by delivering employment readiness training and creating paid internships and jobs in port-related industries. Human trafficking and prevention is some of the most important work we do at the port. And so now I want to turn this over to our airport managing director, Lance Little, who's going to speak a little more about what this looks like at SEA. Lance?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Chow. Good morning, everyone. So each January, what we do, we renew the awareness campaign during Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And we do this in an attempt to reduce the probability that our airport is used as a transit point for traffickers. As a major employer, we are training our employees to spot and disrupt instances of human trafficking. Our objective is to create an environment that is safe and welcoming for all in our community. So you're still encouraged to call the National Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text 233-733. I'll repeat those numbers. So 1-888-373-7888 or text 233-733. So we reach survivors and the traveling public with more than 310 signs that we have installed in the restrooms and the passenger loading bridges here at SEA. In 2021, we're currently adding, as Commissioner Chow mentioned, more signage in 8 languages beyond English, including Spanish, Tagalog, Korean, Chinese, Somali, Russian, Ukrainian, and Vietnamese. BEST is already working with some of our airport dining and retail tenants to place survivors into employment with safe living wages jobs. And it is working. Other airports continue to ask us to share our efforts. This means that we are also inspiring learning and progress nationally. The economic ramifications of the pandemic, furloughed and laid off employees, strained social services, and heightened food and housing insecurities. Those are contributing factors that exacerbate the potential for exploitation. The airport terminal is less busy these days, but SEA remains an engine for economic recovery and employment. Even with the significant reduction in traffic, we must be vigilant and keep the potential for exploitation at bay. The goal is simple: end human trafficking here and everywhere. The work is hard, but the outcome will be worth it. Our anti-human trafficking strategy encompasses training, communications, policies, and partnership. The emphasis on partnerships show what is possible when we work together. I will now introduce one of our amazing partners in combating human trafficking, Dr. Mark Brettman, the CEO of BEST. Dr. Brettman.
Hi there. Thank you so much. My name is Mark Brettman. It's spelled M-A-R. Last name is spelled B-R-E-T-T-M-A-N-N. And I am the CEO and Executive Director of BEST. So I'm so thrilled that the port is continuing to take on this initiative and show leadership nationally, because unfortunately, human trafficking is not slowing down, and human traffickers are not slowing down or stopping during this pandemic. In fact, the National Human Trafficking Hotline reported an increase of 40% in the number of cases handled in April 2020. That national data supports what we're seeing in Washington State following the onset of COVID-19. The Center for Children and Youth Justice, also called CCYJ, produced a report on the impacts of COVID on child sex trafficking victims, and they found the following based on surveys across Washington State. They found that young people are reporting increased exposure to domestic violence, which is often a precursor to human trafficking. And they found that sex buyers have grown increasingly violent in their interactions with the young people being served across our state. To quote my colleague who will be speaking next, Ms. Lilitha Williams, poverty is the worst trafficker. So more people are at risk for trafficking now because families have become financially vulnerable during this pandemic. Widespread unemployment has people taking greater risks to make money, which increases the likelihood that parents or their children may become trafficked. The CCYJ findings support this. More young people across the state are asking for help to find stable housing. Social service providers are seeing their young clients engaging in riskier behaviors, including exchanging sexually explicit pictures or videos for money, which is human trafficking. In addition, the study found that young people of color are being exploited in the sex trades at even higher rates. The pandemic has had a disproportionately negative impact on the economic well-being of Black and Hispanic people, as well as Indigenous people and all people of color, as families are suffering unemployment and young people are trying to get their basic needs met. For this reason, the Port of Seattle's support of employment initiatives for human trafficking survivors through the Safe Jobs Collaborative is so incredibly important right now. We have a responsibility to help vulnerable populations who are most harmed by widespread unemployment and most harmed by human trafficking, so that we can assist them in getting prepared for alternative employment and in finding employment opportunities that are safe. I'll now introduce Lilitha Williams, who is a well-respected survivor expert in our region. Lilitha grew up here in King County and now invests a great deal of her time supporting vulnerable people across our community. Thank you, Lilitha.
Hello. Wait a minute, there you are. So I'll start by saying thank you for having this conversation. It is so important. And this COVID has increased the panic between people that have been being trafficked. Like, it has decreased the accessibility to resources, and it makes them rely on what they've always done. And in some cases, in something they have never done due to panicking and, like I said, the lack of accessibility to resources when they don't know how they're going to feed their families. When we're talking about employment, we are also talking about the fact that a lot of my people have had criminal histories. And I don't know what your method of dealing with people that have had prior criminal history, but that often makes people think they can't reach out for jobs, even if the jobs are accessible and even if they can apply. The fact that they've got criminal history makes them apprehensive. And because they're not knowledgeable about the fact that there's special things in place, they don't do it. They do what they always did. Oftentimes, more recently in the last few months, families and even people that have not been active in trafficking before, due to the panic, especially with the homelessness building as fast as it is during COVID, they are trying something they haven't done before. It's due to the economic, just their accessibility to resources. And like I said, they don't know that there's programs that will help them in spite of their past behaviors or activity. I do believe that not only are they concerned about employment, but they're concerned about the fact that they won't get paid enough to take care of their needs. So that makes them feel like, well, they just got to do what they got to do. And due to them being quarantined, a lot of people, like I said, they're online, they're on their phones. Younger people are being manipulated. I just can't say enough how important it is when we're talking about having programs for employment for people that have been trafficked, that you also put a blurb on there somewhere that says we'll work with your past, or we'll work with criminal history, or we'll work with your obstacles of your past, because then they'll be more likely to reach out. It's hard to reach out, especially with the stigma of the community around what we've been doing anyway, to ask for help, knowing what we've done, right? So unless it's just blatantly saying it doesn't matter how your past was, if you want to try to change your life, we're here to support you, then they're not going to reach out, because we've been rejected and humiliated enough. I think that's all I'll say on that for this moment.
Well, Lilitha, thanks. We appreciate all our speakers in that. Thanks a lot. That wraps up our opening piece here to begin with. Folks that are online joining us, feel free to ask questions. If you want to just go ahead and raise your hand, or we can just ask folks to just go ahead and jump in. We've got a fairly manageable amount here. So anybody have any questions for our speakers directly? Ranjit, go ahead.
Just to put this out for anyone right now, I mean, is the airport essentially the first line of defense in trying to prevent this in one scenario? I mean, is it that key area where we can stop this happening? Can someone sort of talk about that and give me an idea?
So my philosophy is that if we catch someone being trafficked, many times we've already failed, right? The fact that they were in a situation to begin with where they were exploited is the core of the problem, right? If we truly want to end human trafficking, awareness is really just is a reactive. It's proactive, but the reality is that we need to start taking away the environment and the situations in which people fall into those environments of being exploited. So if we really want to stop human trafficking, I would say the first line of defense is ending poverty and just ending those situations in which people end up in poverty. Mar, I don't know if you want to contribute to that, but I firmly believe that there's a root to all this, and it's kind of like every once in a while in the news you hear about a raid on some sort of operation that involves human trafficking, and in my view, at that point, the trafficking has already occurred, right? If you catch someone at the airport, you're catching them in the act, and so my hope is that while we continue to do our work in the awareness campaign and fighting it as it happens, there's a campaign that's going on to just to stop it from happening to begin with. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe Mark can make it clear.
It completely makes sense, Commissioner Cho. It really does. And so that's why we're just thrilled about this employment program, right? Because we're serving not only survivors, but we're serving communities that we consider at risk of trafficking, so that people can find opportunities for employment so that they won't be vulnerable to trafficking, or they won't be vulnerable to going back into trafficking like Lilitha was just describing. The other key thing I would add here around how to prevent it is really preventing the demand. We will, unfortunately, we will probably always have vulnerable people, and until we're able to teach our boys, I have 2 boys at home, until we're able to teach our boys not to engage in the sex trade, and teach women as well not to purchase sex, then we would, that's a lot of what's causing trafficking to happen, is because the demand is so much higher than the supply of people who actually want to enter the sex trade in particular.
Lilitha, I mean, you were talking about how COVID has sent people to such desperate lengths. What would you want to say to them right now? If you can talk to them directly, what do you want to tell them?
That there are resources available. There's agencies you can call. There's lots of resources right now. We're very fortunate being in Washington State. Jay Inslee and just some of the mayors around town have made sure that there's a lot of rental assistance. They can't put you out right now. There is resources. Just reach out, call 211 or call an agency, call BEST, call OPS. There are a lot of agencies, but you are not alone. people that have great jobs are under the stress that we're under as well. Maybe not to the same level, but you can get assistance. You do not have to go that route. There is people waiting to talk to you. We know that you get anxious, because I get anxious, and not knowing where you're going to get resources or how you're going to feed your family or keep them housed. We're very aware of that, but we're very blessed to be in Washington State, and we have resources. Please just reach out.
And Lance, could you speak to the signage and the sort of messages that are being sent, at the airport, what people should notice and what they can do?
Yes, so thank you. So we have signages all over the airport, more than 300 signs over the airport. You'll see them primarily in restrooms and in the passenger loading bridges as you get on and off the airplane. They're actually installed in the bathroom stalls on the inside of the stall doors as well. So, because that's probably when someone who's been trafficked has the time when they're actually alone. So they have the numbers. We have some of the signs now that's in 8 different languages in addition to English. And even in our existing international arrival facilities, the Department of Homeland Security through Customs and Border Protection, they also have human trafficking signs as well that alert anyone that might be trafficked. So signage is a major component of the effort here to eliminate or reduce the event of human trafficking.
And I'll just throw in the reminder then for our media to join us as well too. Try to put it into our chat as well. We do have a Dropbox available. It has some images in there for our signage as well. So those are some pretty exciting ones we've actually seen. One of the signage that you'll see in that Dropbox images are one of our signs that we have in our restrooms that highlights help, and a lot of actually positive notes that folks have actually written on the sign, saying that they're very supportive of the program and encouraging for folks out there. Any other questions out there?
I had one more if it's all right. I don't know if anyone's jumping. Lilitha, are you a survivor yourself? Is there a bit of a story,
Yes.
your story that you could tell us?
Yes. Well, I don't know that this is the time to tell a story other than that I was exposed to trafficking at 12 years old, and it was strictly because I was hungry and was in a place that somebody could take advantage of that. And that's what they did. And that's exactly what I did, was bought something to eat. I'll never forget it. I was 12. And that is that's such a common story. It's not necessarily always someone being trafficked by a person. Sometimes it's a circumstance. And like we're talking about the signage and the people to reach out to, it's going to take a lot of work from different levels of people in the community. It's going to take being kind to people you don't know. It's going to, it's not just a one simple fix. Like the signs are one good thing, because people are going to write the number down and call when they can. It might not be right then. It might be later, right? They might lose it in their purse or their bag and find it later, or be able to pass it to a friend. So that's an amazing thing. But it's going to have to be a multi-layered effort from different people, from just the community, reaching out and seeing people as humans, that they deserve love and to have a safe place to live. And they deserve to have a house, a food, clothing, and safety. And I think that perspective will change the way we touch people. And we're not going to always know the people we touch. We're not going to always know that. We just have to develop a level of caring for humans on a particular, just like everybody matters. And whatever you can do to help somebody, you never know that your act of kindness may stop them from doing something they might have done had you not been kind to them that day, right? It's something so simple. But everybody has to put an effort in, because being hungry is not a good place to be. And feeling like you can't reach out to people is not a good place to be.
Well, right now, those circumstances are so prevalent. So many people are, going to food banks. So many people are socially isolated. I mean, that must be jarring to you, Lilitha, to see that in the world right now at such a degree, and having experienced that.
Especially for the children. for me. It's definitely, it will be my life's work forever, because I know what a difference that, and I could never say enough how much a act of kindness, what an impact that will have. We need to have accessibility. They need to be able to work. They need to know that they can ask for help. People can say that you have resources, but if people don't know about it that need it, then that's really not a resource. They need to know that they can be employed in spite of the things they've done. They need to know they can ask for food if they're hungry. They need to know that they can ask for help for their friend, or they can share that number. An act of kindness is the bottom of, of, of all the help. But employment would really change the game, because poverty is the biggest exploiter of people, especially the marginalized populations, Native, Hispanic, and Black descendant of slaves are most affected. And that's not, I'm not quoting anybody else. That's from my perspective. I believe they're the most affected communities. And I think often, whether it's about trafficking or anything else, they're already at such a disadvantage that sometimes this particular situation is overlooked and it's in plain sight. So I really appreciate the work you guys are doing at the port. And yes, it's already happened by that point, but there are times when people actually are tired and they want to get out. That is not something that a lot of people have chosen to do, and would like to stay in.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks again. Any others have any questions, follow-ups? Any of our other speakers want to add any final thoughts?
No, just thank you for joining us, and I hope we can get some of the awareness out there.
Great.
And I want to
Thanks.
know more about the jobs that are available. Make sure you send some information.
Excellent. Well, another reminder again for our media folks that have joined us that we do have a Dropbox in the chat link, and it's got images and a press release, as well as, like Lilitha mentioned, the information for the phone calls and the websites for additional information and contacts as well too. So if there's anything else that we might be able to help out with, folks, feel free to reach out to us, and then we'll make sure that this recording is available as well too for folks to double check on. So once again, unless anybody else has anything to ask, a last question or add, going once. We appreciate everybody joining us again, and thanks a lot, and we appreciate everyone celebrating the month here for us. Okay, and everybody have a great day and a good weekend. Take care all.